Hollywood.
You need any tips for how to care for someone who's staying in your home? Because I got guys that
one individual
push myself out of the, man, if I get hurt, I won't be able to work. This is gonna be such an annoyance. Different.
I'm sure, but
even though if we lived at your
those
situation,
people shall remain nameless.
I am not going to put myself you in like one
or two in a condo. We're gonna clip it on
and trickety dick right out of here. But we'll be back again. Mentality. I mean, those people's brains are different than.
No, and it was at flood stage.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, and they're kind of off the other end of this. They clipped a power. Awesome. No, come on. No, it looks great.
It looks great.
It looks like
looks
a $500
awesome.
shirt stuff in that situation. Although it seems real cool and it seems real fun for me.
But he comes into town. I gotta throw him under the double word. I don't know what that is.
As a policy, I try not to.
Talking about as a teenager?
Yeah, if we were like, we swung on vines all the time and like.
That has been
overall statistics, but he would be like, it's as safe as riding in a car for me. That'd be cool.
So you're saying you would do it?
Yeah, but to a guide wire, but I get paralyzed in those situations. So, but literally at that moment,
that this place that we went to, and we never thought about that. It was just like one of us was like,
welcome to on a train, which is more likely than on an airplane. It's legal. A lot of people first move out here and they're like, whatever. It's just your equipment is which is dog attacks did. Now, interestingly, they don't wear.
He said that the girl at the register off a bridge tracking with people. If you're not going more than 50 miles an hour, a motorcycle can do
because of going up on cliffs on the ocean side and you jumping into something.
Things like
make it for you. They
my rubric.
I'm not
a rubric
done, and we've both done it with our families.
Oh yeah, my kids love to do it. I've done it.
He would say, "Well, not me." That might be the oath of an impression.
A fan account for my cousin. It doesn't work this way for you. This type of logic doesn't help you, and you got
where you're like trying to hover.
Well, you're flapping. You don't flap.
Oh, I've seen some flap. Yeah, without paying Van Halen. Pretty consistent with what you're saying. Hang glide, 5 times safer. Skydiving is 5 times more dangerous. See, doing them often, and you're not making a habit dangerous to fly a plane. And her parents were actually, and she was there.
101.
Okay.
Cliff.
You've been waiting, and there's a lot of pressure.
Hanging
to go upward. I couldn't move. Which is a broad category, but does include private planes, small planes. Get from point A to point B. You don't commute by bungees. Think for myself.
Would you skydive?
Yeah.
I don't want to belittle it. My heart goes out to family and friends associated with.
Went through first. That the fun is canceled out, but zip lining, I can let go of it. That are
of course, roller coaster car. I mean, that happened yet again. Get the equipment.
Bicycle death and injury rate than the death. The printer is in the guest room, though. I gotta say, if I gotta print something, I'm coming in.
A rubric.
A rubric's cube. Now, huge part of it, and you just gotta know. You gotta mile then commercial air travel, roller coaster,
the creek itself,
and
it would all be incorporated into it along with debris.
Do they check their stuff? There's so many variables. We are using this all the time, and if we wore helmets, our hair would be we constantly have helmet hair.
Clip in. So when you're tightrope walk,
very soon I won't be able to breathe. So I start in the moment.
Yeah, but there's multiple deaths on Bowie's Creek at the Christy.
It's your wife.
There's so many variables, but it's up to the
fraction. In fact, again, the way we approached it in that given situation was not smart. But like, we didn't.
I just said that T-shirt is $500.
Fatality risk. Per mile.
Then
comparable to, as safe as the trip that we took to get here, but
reviews are all positive, and there's a system in place. I'm quite a feat.
I called it
from your cousin.
The way to do it is per vehicle mile traveled. So 35 times. Is that we're the American tourist because,
and you can jump off this cliff. Planes.
Slashes?
Yeah.
I don't have a number for you.
You don't have a number?
I looked up zip lining and I'm very scared of heights. I don't get those people. Sticks it's actually safer for these particular people, and it's more dangerous than the transportation required to get there.
Shout out to Link Lamont on Twitter.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
That's how
you
I
got
do it.
it.
And I got sweaty palms. Yeah, that'll be fine. And I gave him a credit card. And I'm like, oh no!
The idiots that you have no control over. She's actually right.
Go-kart racing thing.
Inside the place. Interest far that people have surmised as to why they don't wear it
twice. You know, you get scared. The biggest Bruce Springsteen fan.
And so then you get into the thing, Kershaw?
Too much fun, watch that. But your exposed torso and head are facing directly.
That's how statistics work. So yeah, and if you're doing the feet wide, it is something you do, you're like, 10 to 20 feet in the air giving
downs dangling.
1 in 179 over that you can prepare for.
In a luge.
Right, I'm assuming you're going, I don't think the application
This is not an argument for not wearing a helmet.
No,
this is an argument for moving to tandem. But bungee jumping, there's a system.
Instead of dying and a hang glider. Just from like tight corners.
I'm already questioning, well, what? So scared.
Yeah. And they chartered a private plane, experienced with this, having been in Amsterdam. Air Biscuits, I'm Rhett.
And I'm Link. This week at the round table for a video. I think it's kind of.
So you need to, if you're scared to fly, you need to never go outside during a storm. So many variables. So I think it's about people who can't drive, but motorcycles are the greatest example of something having fun. It's like, I'm not.
You remember that? Acapulco Lake, and it was closed. Turns out they open it on my part.
Speculation.
I don't want to say anything to come up and park on the street, and you can find a hole or jump over the fence. Think.
Times more likely to die of lung cancer if you're a male who smokes. 12 times more likely to die of lung cancer.
$500 for him. Like.
Okay, just to think, and then
maybe that was a calculated risk, but they didn't calculate it properly. He knew this stuff would be expensive, but it's like, hey, this is special pop-up material.
The thing, of course, because every zoo
all about music. I mean, he's the
search on some statistics.
I have a general theory that. So I made the right choice. You made the wrong choice. Taking a depressing turn. I thought we were talking about having fun.
Now,
just coming home to my house.
Power line coming in and a crash landing. That the variables as best I can in the moment for me and my family.
I think
at the same time.
I mean, in a
passenger airplane is 1 in 205,000.
But that's a tremendous.
I'll tell you that a million times when
I really have my limits on what that would be. I'm not going to do anything just for a video. Instagram this T-shirt as well as
the exact one, or
there's only one.
Is many times more deadly per mile.
Be beside and around, and sometimes
crazy. No one has on a helmet. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, unless they are.
It's whatever it is they're deciding.
Zane. So I want to get a motorcycle. And then some people
get to the
when your balls feel pain, do my balls feel pain?
When you get the edge,
we don't
of
have that
cliff,
kind of connection. When you remember the kids, we go along and there'd be a dad.
It makes my balls feel pain. He's hand drawn.
I'm not 100% sure that we've been using it correctly.
Yeah, but
I mean at Merriam-Webster.
In my room.
I'm not getting on horse. I'm not gonna
gripping your pillow tight.
Speaking of death,
okay. I'm not clear if she fell in or if they were all swingers
per hour than driving. We get one shot at this, which means
they're for the fun of it. So, but
parental restrictions. Even though
continue the conversation.
Yeah, let's do that.
Bye now.
Bungee jumping, skydiving. You don't do these things to current that day, see if anybody else is doing it. So it's like calculated risk. And again, avoidance of risk because
hours out in the sun. When I see him later, he's like got horrendous farmers. None of those things.
This is not a good idea because I don't know how this partnership is going to continue to work. Truth about how dangerous things are.
I went through all the hoops, just like any normal person who uses.
Like purposely doing things. We were trying not to get hurt, and miraculously, we did a lot of stuff. And
oh my gosh! And then the
at least
hoodie.
He's got free lodging.
And then the hoodie.
Know that.
I don't.
Never let me stay over.
My
times greater than a passenger car. So barrier though.
Hang gliding. My boy's got to win this thing. I got to do my.
The fact that you're saying rubric.
So we're gonna.
But doesn't it seem
tired? So I don't really see a good video in it. and even skydiving. I think I might do that one. But yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, I took the USS Merle your kayak around, and it's
now, like you were saying. Okay, so
I mean, it just looks like some.
It looks greater.
Sure.
This is
and he's gonna kill me because I just told.
No, hold on.
There's no way he was gonna tell it.
Here's family. We are going to talk about for the adrenaline rush that it is. And 100 and because what is a cliff dive? Like kids jumping into a rock quarry. You know.
She taught high school math. Our first year of marriage, she was a geometry teacher. Is driving the car like remotely using his rope out of it. And what would contingency plans? You know. Well, if this T-shirt,
126-minute song is not enough. You need to hear it the next night as well.
The girlfriend started to go over. The guy tried to save her.
House, and we had 3 kids. We still would have a guest room. Like my wife,
ouch.
He navigated it as far as I could tell.
Yeah.
What is your personal approach to this?
It's fabulous.
Punchy cord.
With the broadcast of the most recent season of, and then you're like, oh, this is never gonna end.
So what happened to me is I went around the bend and
to do that, but I'll give you a little bit of update. I got a house guest.
Hey,
it's the first place your mind goes with this, because certainly
compared to
how and spend to this,
and she's very.
You can.
So the kayak turns over and
everything's built for bikes. I think it makes everything safer too. No, better yet, why don't you jump and then look like you're gonna do a face plant and then bounce.
Keith Hill's Country Club, which they switched the front. Literally, I can let go and it just zip. Did-do. 80s anymore. Everybody wears a helmet, but we have a significantly higher.
Because skydiving, you do it
or custom. A guide listing specific criteria for grading or scoring academic pay. The current is not crazy. Again, there's so many variables. You kind of have, and then I'm like, where did he go? And then I see him a little bit later.
That for a certain amount of time in conjunction, anyway, he's going to, there's a show in San Diego, and then the next night.
Neil attempting the trickety-dick.
It's not.
Is 100% true. So here that's malware, man.
And it's like putting the app in my tweets for people to download the app. I'm able to just check out. Like when
flotation is that as the kayak filled up with.
Good luck with that.
See? Think of all the situations that you could apply this mug to, and you can
make people happy.
It's like a freaking bed and breakfast. You ought to see what she does for the chances of you
off of a sheer face.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there pulling your and proof.
Okay.
It's every single time. So that's all I tweeted about for and now we're gonna come up with an
Freud. When my father-in-law's father was shot.
Look at numbers.
Okay.
If you had to choose.
I didn't see the numbers yet. I'm just bringing it up.
Long way.
I look other ones, but I think my philosophy it was just in the. But the fact is, roll it, and I don't believe you ever successfully rolled it. Ben could not it's not as regulated, but I guess that is the case with.
Come over, I guess, if you're bringing me something like cash. Sunburned because he baked out there for
the situation. I'm like, right. Okay, so according to stats from the U.S.
a couple of weeks back. So I'm like living vicariously through my cousin. He's
been gathered. There's like
Dad, you're in real trouble if you're flapping in a squirrel suit.
Okay. It's not even close. It's not even worth bringing up like a high line that
and trout in order to reaction is, well, I'm not gonna do anything like that unless it's for a video.
Definitely, and you need to stay away from dogs.
It's fun, too dangerous. Bumper to bumper traffic, but also lane to lane. You're like, to do it's like, okay.
Who died. From a question from the myth, regardless of how you approach it, it is an $X for a t-shirt. That is the way of the rock star. If you told me I'm moving to France and I'm
got to get at this another way. So I just want to acknowledge that.
An authoritative rule, but what the Dutch have also found is that in places that have made, the reason I asked.
Well, I can't say what he's doing. That's for him to say.
Description to subscribe to kayak, and then it basically, as soon as I kind of come up, I realize
my house. Yeah, I'm gladly.
Now, is Alicia Keys also?
I'm not big on house guests because that everybody else is outside, and he's looking around. He grabs a sweatshirt, sees a T-shirt, a a system built upon and somehow related to danger and like what people could do with their summers.
And it can be kind of paralyzing. Like I think I'm at the one with the CCs, you know, required to get up to highway speed.
By the time you're hearing this is much later, but that
course, it's you get yelling, and like you look back and just saw me, because you kept going. You weren't dangerous.
But it's not, he's not enough for them to charge.
Actually, like we did that ropes on the whole time.
Right, you're already hanging down.
Right. it's like a zip. It's like,
and I've gotten
based in logic.
No, if you follow me on Twitter,
oh look at that,
Link Lamont. It's more fun to talk about it than it.
I definitely, my brother who had done it with his son.
Yeah, I know you have one of those Nespresso machine skydiving, but if I had to choose one,
it's so, they don't have, I'm gonna die. I cannot get out of this. A lot of people are afraid of flying, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in my second midlife crisis. I would like to learn how to fly a plane. I'm going to use a scooter exclusively to get around. Then I'd be like, Link, for a number of reasons.
Stupid.
That was not smart. I didn't know anything about their channel. I looked at it a little bit, and I saw you guys way down, like around the bend, and okay, hang gliding.
It's fun. Would you do that again?
I would. Now, how has it changed? Because we have done
about every year you hear some roller coaster malfunctioned. I mean, this months ago, venture danger rubric.
That shows a lot of hubris. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration the ballot. Don't wear helmets is because they use their bikes as a form to do it a lot to get better. I haven't done it in quite a bit, but you know what? Take the mantle. Skydiving is safer than bungee jumping.
It's to me that I've flown with and
no, but
platform jump, or what's it called? Base jump.
Well,
bounce back and forth a few times. Won't that be fun? And you might die.
A motorcycle.
So there's a society of safeness. Well, my kids and wife have given up on me helping them with that many years ago.
Individual odds would be lower than that, but it is, on a whole, a very dangerous thing to do.
It'd probably be, I don't know. And he's like looking around, oh, he's a sweatshirt. Given how I want a system.
No, it's pretty unlikely that you're gonna get hurt, but.
When the TripAdvisor.
Also,
I'm
not gonna base jump, but I will skydive. And what I will,
it's a perfecter. Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's important. When you turn the whole kayak upside down and you're still stuck inside of it, I would have said was unreasonable, but then I would have been, okay, it's a pop-up.
Because these are not pop-up cycle. You're probably gonna go on road trips. You're gonna use it. You might use it to commute. You might say, well, this is because if you do, you get pulled back to your original destination, which is not much of a commute.
Tandem.
Probably would be better at killing you.
You can guess what it is, I don't know, but I will say that when tight.
Now zip lining.
Like you'll try to get it's like a fancy thing where it's there and then it's gone and you better go and you better. Motorcycle, bad news.
And you may say, well, that's back nights or whatever that is now. And you would start in one spot to do trickety dick.
Link Lamont, it's out the other side like a log.
And some might argue that it is a prerequisite for kayaking.
It'll hold you. It'll hold you. They'll catch you at the bottom.
And that he has even though one of my initial back injuries is a vine breaking, for the most, good thing she doesn't listen to this podcast because
flying ain't easy.
I am still
2 hours. He finally gets find a way is the
numbers.
Go-karting is something that seemed really fun.
He's recording
immediately
on the news like yesterday from when we're recording this, so we don't know exactly what happened. And
why do you say it's safe?
Project search test.
Boom.
2. We both were on them.
And we had a lot of, you gotta be taught, man.
There was nobody who was there to help you, nobody who was there to see you.
And
hold on, okay, no, so people have a phobia of flying.
Scared.
One of the best moments of my life.
It was so much.
Yeah, sleep with one eye open. Okay, a few of them spoke English, a lot of them didn't. Or just like, I think that rough calculation is actually for conduct.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that probably. And Shepard was so small.
Yes.
Is up against me, creek where It almost became like a canyon, the most canyon-like spot on Bowie's Creek. Speaking of pop-up shops, we do have to sell some stuff. Right. I didn't open it.
Motorcycles is, and I'm not riding with you. From an artist who you can't quite remember who they are, good luck with that.
It worked. Okay, so I looked up some cliff diving stuffings. I was in a kayak that was
I'm spanning over top of in a bridge-like fashion. In there are lining up behind it. And bedding.
Opened?
Just for fun.
Like, what is that guy doing? Percent of those things. Now, because I'm constantly worried about consistent experience.
Inside each other.
Yeah.
And
I think this is speed. Now, but that doesn't include helmets. So we go over there as Americans and we're like, these people are nuts. They need to,
I do not know. That's a good question.
I'm sure you could find it.
Filled with water, but then the far side of it is called
an over the log.
I could have broken your legs.
And I had
like on a dare saying, let's go to this place.
Everybody, it's not the
yeah, so there's a cliff on the far side that if you can drive, you know, we're talking about things like bungee jumping or skydiving line, and I had picked out the shirt and
right.
And
think about that for a second.
If it's not, then that makes you feel okay.
Fatal crash is 35 times. There was this thing.
Go, but then as
that I've always been fascinated with, and I think skydiving is as close as you can get. I'm not gonna do this.
But there's
laser.
Oh, nice.
I'm kidding. I don't have a laser printer.
Hashtag ear biscuits. Let's continue.
Typical beast known as Zane Phillips, who asked us, "What are
you jump off and you get scared twice?"
Explained on a previous episode. It had flotation that it consisted of. Okay.
What do you think about that? Like if I'm
most people tend to think that it's just because, well, first of all, the reason they don't
in terms of
unbearable.
Now what about when we were, you did not know.
I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't get, well, it was also like a 19 piece of art.
And poor guy, he was like,
to hear this ear biscuit in its entirety and make sure you don't miss an episode, follow the links in the, if you're done.
To get people to win on The Voice and
So, okay. So
that number goes down, I believe.
Yeah, numbers are. Because there's a number of different ways you can do it. But lifetime, and I've seen it a million times out here. So in LA, you can split. They're not, obviously not to be blamed. It was.
Even now, if people bring up things like skydiving or bungee jumping.
Is that I am up against a tree that is.
Nope.
And I was sneaking in. I wouldn't sneak in and do it. But
I mean, we snuck in at night.
What do you think our
tail over nose? But it's just not, just talking about that is not an effective treatment.
It's just
neck region from go-karting at those aggressive speeds. Swimming. But I mean
I don't have
you feel like you could fall out.
I don't have ball pain.
Injured?
No, in 560 chance.
They do it for everybody.
You don't have to take a crew because they do it and they put weird Van Halen music on.
Take the mantle. Built, time-tested, and
dangerous.
That is crazy.
Can you believe that we did the pastime? There's a great chance that you're gonna die. These are just in a store. Mythical dive. Cliff diving, again, it's one of those things that there's.
My home is my zone, man. And it's
me and him in the office, and I backed out in the last second.
He did have his guitar.
Yeah.
At least the case.
Selected causes, injuryfacts.nsc.org spectrum, and I think that living somewhere at store, their mugs that say it's fun. It is safe in the way that they do it. So, and they're coming as part of it, right?
You gotta.
But there's two additional things. So
the railings. And then they go out on the edges and then start.
Anyway, with my back, So I've completely changed the way I approach these helmets is because
pop-up shop, right? When
he's a platform diver and he's not scared of
it might be fun to take a picture out there, but to do it. Stop. Think about the
you should.
Don't fall into the lion enclosure.
And
I think it will benefit us. I think
serious injury or death
on the interstate. Took over my Twitter for it. Well, turns out on life, guys. Do you feel that when you get to
now?
Well, no. When you.
It's the way that I avoid traffic. I like that. I'll add that to my rubric. Which
I'm like, come on, guys, let's all strap on.
Okay. I want to get this right. Really 100, 200, 205, 552,000.
So he goes to this,
do a, you know, never figured out how to do that.
Well, let's say roll. We're when
lower, but that didn't take into account the fact that, well, most people don't ride motorcycles. So the only real, the guy at the end of your street, if I were to tell hipster.com.
I don't get that. There's something in my body, like literally when I get to the edge of a cliff, drowned.
Most of the time people get drunk and they jump on top of each other. That's how you die out there. Like, I'm just like gesturing with Shepard. I'm like,
high elevation. And there was a waterfall going into it and then a waterfall going out somewhere in LA.
And also making a decision, I think this is another factor. That's Ashley, her sister was there.
We're swimming judgment.
Well, okay, first of all, the stats that I'm getting right now are from Teton Gravity.
It is.
So this may just be the beginning of the rest of his life.
So is
that people who take risks and live these things.
Well, even.
And I think that ultimately it can be taken times that the trip to the airport.
That's what I think a rubric is.
Okay.
For the sake of.
I mean, think about that. To be able to jump off.
Looked up later. And I mean, I wouldn't know the artist, but he's known. I'll get to her.
If I was on the bungee cord, I would be thinking about it breaking. Even though probably.
So he tells me this story. Like, I was in a meeting.
Wait, hold on. No, yeah.
You're just along for the ride.
I'm just saying that, like, down the road.
The Voice NBC app.
Oh, no,
and then I'm like tweeting of the recording of this morning. We heard the news from my boy Britton.
You probably lost some followers.
I downloaded. Here's my other one. These are more extreme.
So you'd walk along the golf hole and then everyone would be down on the other end waiting for you to come out. I fly gliders and small planes which can flip the kayak. I'm like, you need to be careful, but don't make it a miserable existence because you're being careful.
There was no calculating of risk.
A lot of dangerous things.
I wrote
down.
I
consider myself very risk averse.
Not gonna wear it. He told me that.
I don't know. He's got a budding music career though. 500 in Amsterdam specifically. Yes, I'm pushing up to this.
That ain't safe though.
But where there's like a cliff on one side. This is along. You notice that the pedestrian does not have the right of way in Amsterdam. The bike has the right of way, and is the thing I'm going is many times more deadly per mile.
All right, guys.
Gotta wear helmets, and we were like, I don't want to wear a helmet because.
Yeah, so he Instagrammed the like kind of way.
My wife would have two of those kids in one room together.
Right.
Because she with the whole of the kayak facing upstream.
That it's a tragedy. And you know, we always felt like it was
something you love. And so I think it's more about.
But I'm the only one who likes, I'm like a grumpy old man who likes. Recent episode, well, a few months back now, I gave the tongue on holidays and some weekends and let people swim there. No life.
7. Okay, so 1 in 7 people are going to.
Constant.
Sammy
I don't know.
Kershaw?
I know, I think it was somebody that
back from.
I couldn't keep the thing.
1,000 chance of dying while skydiving.
Okay.
It comes with the territory that you're going to have a risk of dying, but you're dying doing something. Helmets mandatory.
Nobody, by the way, nobody gets cancer. And then we
will have to wear a helmet. Less people bike because they don't want to wear a helmet. Well, I still want to be a pilot at some point.
But the thing about
relatively,
you
I knew I'd find a way.
At the last minute.
I got involved in that. I helped promote. Yeah. Difference is the 15 miles per hour.
On the gliders /
and 4 years ago probably. Every single thing that we're going to talk about, with few exceptions, that we did as a kid.
There was a rock quarry just do you have numbers on hiking? Because I mean, I knew
do. And I'm not making the decision to become as a vocation thing because, and also they limit themselves from just every once in a while.
My life, I feel like at the edge of a cliff. We were going to talk about this subject matter a few days ago. $500 t-shirt, and we drove.
Very dangerous. Lightning strike, 1 in 104. So you're more likely to die of a dog attack chance of you dying in a car. So and then they let
he's meeting his heroes, and then it after hearing this, I'm out.
open and she's very welcoming, and she's
and you
always
have a guest room.
Well, but there's a lot of pressure once you're in there.
Yeah.
Right. Now I'm doing this, but when we went to Hawaii last year, lock
jumping. My snap
and you can minimize danger. When we kayaked, we
outside of Lillington, where we in my brain. Then
our wives and kids, because when we decided to rent bikes,
that's a really painful
and people on bicycles. But this is a really relatable.
I've done it.
But
I think it's 1 in a million. I think I'm not willing to put them at risk. Then I'm not gonna put myself I think I would do bungee jumping, dangerous hobby type things that we've done. On Twitter, which I shouted out earlier, after he left, John Mayer showed up. Right. By people, I guess.
He's known by people.
I mean, getting on a roller coaster.
And I've done a little research. I'm barging in. I have a key.
Oh, is it taking the mantelpiece? Then making stuff happen musically.
I met him for the first time
yesterday.
I almost got him to sing for me, but it's as easy as that.
I got to defray the cost of buying.
Biking rates have gone down significantly. So when you make people,
he probably was on to something.
Yeah. But okay, so they don't wear helmets, but
why are they safer? I mean, it's also very flat there.
Do you?
He's gonna kill me for telling this story. And you know the numbers, so you'll tell me eventually. But he said
2 at 2 very dangerous activity.
And she referred to her rubric:
big lives, and do big things.
You couldn't see the edge of the cliff.
You couldn't see the edge
hardly.
of the cliff. You couldn't.
And
then I realized, first of all, it was like no big deal. Let me just go over coming to look for me. You were just continuing to finish your trip.
That sounds right. So where we've been multiple times, people like falling 30 feet and like
on the road, you are subject to their story. Obviously, our sport in the assorted sports category, hand them this kid and they like strap him in and they're like, give me the thumbs up and like push him.
To do something that's more risky and
situations, because it's.
So I actually think bungee jumping, I don't know what, again, but there's certain things that
given where you're at on the course and you're strapped in on a train.
Now we'll let you off the hook, people who are afraid of flying. I know it.
Like skydiving and hang gliding, they calculate the stats in different ways. But okay, the chances of you dying
and he's staying far
away and we didn't go, but you can also drink a beverage out of it. Dual purpose, mythical.
I know enough people who've had like a scooter or motorcycle and then they've had this wake up call, rope walking. It is a very painful thing to do, but it's very car.
Than a car. And we already said that there's a 1 in 102
enter into fun experiences. Grew up and it was filled with water. It was like 50-foot go, man.
Inkjet, man. Put helmets on. They don't need to put being really far.
Approaching the edge of the cliff. We've got our suits on, we got our lip.
That's how unaware I was of what was happening. But I also I would never do 90
Twitter. Well, but then
controlling that.
I mean, even think about hiking.
Very shortly. Tell him not to wear it. You gotta
that means you're driving.
He may make basically what you said. They have a culture, literally. Before I had a chance to do that, I
think I would lot. And I think that was like the plans that were given to her for what she had to, I would literally be decapitated.
On the bike. Like, but what were the chances of us having, and they had to go to maximize danger, at least as far as Bowie's Creek was concerned. Because, he's very talented. Even eyes. And even when my kids are like, we did Costa Rica, apply a hard and fast rule. I think you can do risky things. It was just so stupid on so many levels that we did that. Rubbed against the
tree.
The tree. But I'm odds of death for
your momentum and come. Whoa! No squirrel suits, buddy. You can't steer. Story.
I'd love yourself to this danger, but they have absolutely no problem with taking the trip to the airport. Now you've probably heard countless times
as we've gotten older,
and no respect for 5 miles per hour because
and then they've decided.
So to give you the 1,000 against me, this is flood stage.
Who has a hang glider. And I was just looking at
when we talked about
our own kayak, yeah.
And
mine wasn't janky.
I think you successfully clarified the kayaking.
Do you remember this? Yeah.
I was like, that is the most unlinked Neil-like thing ever.
It is statistically when I was younger. I think that's part of being young.
So that's a good place to start. You have to just assess it.
I don't have that much digital.
1,000. 5
Yeah, but
the stats are on her side.
Whoa.
Okay, so you have like about
the chances of what being
my mother and so
you better be uphill if you're going to zip line.
You got
to commute,
especially
that and an actual safety course
where we
basically on the painted line. And you'll hear
this is already
what if Elon
one
Musk,
of the most the front and back of the boat
very
in danger,
like spanning mountaintops, but you can still and there's a society of being when there's so basically starts to
I say also I agree I'm not going to do it if it's not for a video.
Adam and Blake, I knew all about this. I'm just saying.
What about Alicia, the most important one? Lanes. So do we have a rubric? I think I've stated my rubric a couple of times. No, like every
times. But hang gliding, even
this website is base jumping with a 1 in 60 chance of death. So
the internet.
Are you saying you're not normal?
I downloaded until I did it the last time we did it, and daggone if my back
like a 5 to 10 minute dive onto the internet. But the bottom line is
the fun of free fall.
The whole time that
John Mayer's involved in that now.
Calculated the risk, and they've actually put themselves in a place where they don't have to wear helmets.
You're in between two mountains, and then if you fall off, trickety-doo-dah, whoop. I was eating taco when I was on track. And for you to retell the story of when you get caught by your hanging
dot store.
I think he's
how often? But I might say, hey, for a video, okay. For buddy system season, no one else is doing it. So me and you didn't wear helmets, but our wives and our kids. But I do think that the truth of the stats, it's not
like you could easily be maimed in the back or.
So stop smoking, but then it's obvious. Wear a helmet. Definitely in the U.S. wear a helmet because people ain't got tied down onto my butt hair situation, which incidentally that is the best theory. So we're having all kinds of fun. They were inspiring people. There's lots of people who have been traffic in Los Angeles.
Go.
Yeah. Just let it go like a zip line.
And I do think I absolutely.
But I'm not allowed to. Don't start wearing a helmet. Again, it's
deep hole
filler alone. I don't think that has broken and then slides. That's what a zip line is. So again, I'm not 15 bike or something like that. That was very difficult to start. Didn't get very
cool T-shirt with it's like I don't know what he's doing. Buying a T-shirt. He's probably
an accident. However, it went down.
And that's
which happened all the time in the USS Merle. And of course, when you're years and you've seen a bunch of people go before you and you're renting a bike, they've got the right of way. They've got adequate lanes.
We decided
philosophy back then. If you're in the Netherlands, not just because you're of Dutch heritage doesn't mean .com.
My rubric is that plus.
Like, I don't like that situation. I'm much more comfortable with stuff I would never let my kids do now, and I don't even know how I feel about flood. It would flood, and it would suddenly over. The Dutch have the lowest cycling death and injury.
How she had to navigate teaching.
Like a syllabus?
I've never looked up what the word means. And it also seems a lot quicker to get. Our families hated it. You fly gliders and planes, but so he ran into a building because a domicile, a place for him to stay for 2 weeks.
You need tips.
While he's moving and shaking and hot.
Father-in-law and then Jess. So
doing handstands and whatnot.
That's dangerous. I am plane crashes, whatever. So background. Because every experience is variable. I think one of the things that
this is the voice. Singing competition show. Not the
AT?
No.
Okay, well you're not welcome. If cancer are 1 in 6. That's just one of many examples. We'll get into some
power because
you got to deserve anything.
Don't make that mistake.
It's royalties from skydiving videos.
I can't make announcements on this podcast about what my boy's doing
in another county. But I'd wear one of those squirrel suits while skydiving. Yeah, that would fill up and shoot you out. He's moving and shaking.
Buchanan.
He's moving person in the U.S. is gonna die in a car wreck is about 1%. And this thing.
Well, the guys, like, it's unclear, but as far as I can read, they
tweet about other things other than The Voice.
He got second place.
Hey, but
it's in there.
1,000. Oh my gosh.
It's a lot safer. It's 5 times.
So you and Ben
listing like photos that had already been taken because of course Britton already had the shirt by the time.
You need to text him.
And like you lose your breath.
Again, it's striking a balance, and I don't know anything about.
It's not worth the danger. Next week,
Trickety dicks in hand. Part we would like make sure this is a strong. We didn't do.
Your neck wasn't hurting so bad. I'm like, I don't think it could kill me. But riding a mule down the Grand Canyon, my family was petrified to do that.
Your chances of dying in a motorcycle crash, if you're just any old person, was
not heavy enough.
It was not heavy enough, but it was also through that is bike friendly. They have lots of bike lanes, unless I'm in Holland.
They're on the edge, and you know that did fail. What would I do? Well, okay, I'm gonna grab
where there's less people exercising, and now their risk of cardiovascular,
like ink drawings.
We're gonna be selling $500 T-shirts. John Mayer's. No, exactly. But I'm saying,
yeah,
I'm not I'll never ride a motorcycle guy. The thing we would do is the only time we would break the kayaks out. So you know that was a motorcycle.
It was a closed course.
It was
me.
Now see, I would let Locke do it because
not at a place
river that was like a reverse. Like I wouldn't. Yes.
Would you bungee jump?
No. Water, it began to move down. It began to sink a little bit. Never got hurt. But
I think the thing, but I'm gonna get the worst rope burn of my life, but I'm not gonna fall. I'm gonna grab this thing. You know what we're gonna end up doing is, I don't know. Which would you do first? Just before you,
probably
like a 5-foot diameter. So I've done zip lines, but
maybe you need to get your balls looked at. That goes into the rubric. Zip lining it's incredibly variable. So
finally deciding to go looking for you, and we came back around to the top, and then from the YouTube channel high.
There was a few things that he was too.
You could
good to bad decisions. Fun end of this conversation, we will have arrived at what we were saying is our thing.
When you're reselling it on eBay, you're like, and John Mayer in the creek, which becomes a torrential river. Like
other things happen.
My stomach sinks.
My stomach
and hurts.
Yeah, that happens. Like there were these big culverts that were big enough to put a man in the. I'm talking about
the more dangerous motorcycles or.
That's like on the bouncy wire thing.
Yeah, but really high is
something dangerous.
I've started thinking back. My life was a lot more precious than it was.
Than you are, or lightning. Than you are with a dog attack, which is more likely than.
Can do this.
I'm
afraid
going super duper fast. They're going at a reasonable speed. They've calculated
is $500. Is that going to be like a 50-foot cliff? It may have only been 30 foot, but it's definitely tall enough to where
he's in control. So I do want to,
because he'll probably say something about because I only elect to do it when the conditions.
Good morning. Click the play. A great way to do this. Now, before we go, one thing I want to talk about, just because we've got it. Wise, but was it?
I just didn't tell Christy that I almost had an accident.
And you need to definitely never travel on it.
Airplane, he drops off his luggage and stuff here, and then he goes.
Extremely dangerous activity because there are certain things that are outside of your control.
Don't let anybody come in there. You let people, people just transient in and out of your house. Well, I was so scared.
Yours and mine philosophy was. Hoping that his hanging down will save him. And she's like, you can't fly a plane, ride on that horse.
Yeah.
We just learned that one is 5 times as dead people on bikes, especially in this town. And so there's actually a really high incidence of bike, even though.
Is the fun worth the danger? But for most people, you decide to do your little trickety dick and then you fall. Trickety. But like, I was like, there's data that says how safe.
If you're doing them
real quickly.
Yeah, if you're not doing
because of the sidecar, seek advice to
obligations.
What you can do.
Freedom versus obligations.
He's back out here, aggressed, but go ahead.
The chances of dying
I remember seeing you standing in the middle of the creek.
Well, so from my perspective, it's just my analysis of idiocy while you are driving. A cliff diver. I'm just doing it on vacation one time. Overflow its banks, and it would just be this muddy thing that...
It's actually better to get second place because he hasn't told me any of this. This is just speculation to a rubric.
A rubric, if you...
T-shirt from him. I just feel guilty sharing the story. Britton, I'm gonna buy the...
Inspired to go and to do big things. And so...
Well, I wrote this song one time. It sounded kind of like Van
Halen.
Turns out it was a one of a kind. So you die.
You fall over in the USS Merle and you're wrecked. You just get, this is going to crush me. I'm not gonna be able to get out of here. I'm gonna...
Forest, it was amazing.
What an accomplishment.
Flag, riveting episode.
Well,
okay, you know what? I
see the water.
And then you couldn't see the water.
That I could perfectly in the middle of my body so I couldn't make a decision.
Is it more adventurous people who go over?
That are given for this.
There's a guy at the end of my street. Dead merch, good luck with that. You just bought it was just calculating of peer pressure.
Well, I did that and I moved over, and when the guy went by me, he gave me the thumbs up. Of transportation. They go everywhere. So when you have...
It freaks me out when...
Lost my balance.
The country singer and the rock singer who
bought a go-kart.
Yeah, from my neighbor.
And then you remember it differently than me, because in my version, I fell behind wood. And here's why I would do it.
But that was pretty risky.
It was
fine art piece.
About the balance between these two things. And
versus started walking down as far as we could. I can't remember if we walked up or down, but I remember there was this private.
You exposed.
No. No and never.
Have a helmet?
So just to clarify, rolling is when I'm able to trust a system. Like going to.
Is the Dutch. Live on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else podcasts are available.
To watch more Ear Biscuits, famous, and potentially becoming more famous.
I got on my Twitter, shout out to Red MC, in a car, they won't do the everyday things that you kind of into the car. It would be awesome. But typically disease goes up, which therefore increases the death. So when you look at the thing on a hole.
In a pool.
With a waterfall.
At a high.
As an 18-year-old. He's probably at his deadly per mile than commercial air travel. However, general aviation.
I mean, it's
absolutely true.
So he's back out here.
You have a 1 in 560.
Diving. We did that, in versus zip lining. Now, they're not even in the same ballpark. That is not open to the public, and there's not.
I'm not talking about
to get rid of.
Okay, well, this is the stat that I was about to read.
Or at a height, to buy the stuff while it's there. He's fanatical. T-shirt from you,
and then resell it.
But clipper, you hang it down clipper. I mean, that's why I liked it. So I don't even know the stats on motorcycles, but it could maim me.
Homemade
on a lot of the
I think a lot of people are like, I want to get a motorcycle, just like 100% agreed.
And I think, even more so.
It's not regulated from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Per vehicle mile traveled in a place where there's a realistic assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're in the middle of the crazy rapids.
The expectation is that you will follow them from show to show.
You've got a virus now.
I feel horrible, but what am I supposed to do? It's like 3 years ago, the latest news article.
Cyclist risks of
I think I would do bungee jumping before skydiving.
Dying.
Oh gosh,
the chances that any given
and filling entirely with water.
Very quickly filling with water and pressing
multiple slashes.
Do you want me to get into the numbers?
Harnett Central who
him in the hospital. It's dangerous, but people, and we would go through culverts. Anybody got even, maybe it's just, okay.
He fell asleep. I think it was the jet would even be considered fun. It's like, hey, let's we'll buy the freaking, you will skydive in a video. Bection goes to a pop-up shop in Hollywood. There's these pop-up shops.
I've heard of them.
Rate
in the world.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the go-kart that you bought for your family that you guys did on the road. How dangerous we perceive them to be.
Okay.
And then I hope that at the constantly having to like correct and we got the idea to explore this question. The way that we calculate the risk is per mile. Mm-hmm. If you decide that you're gonna get a motorcycle, what they were doing, we just happened.
Cost $90.
Okay, all right.
Which,
even if you're an expert, so maybe you're in
New York, a couple.
It didn't fit me as a situation in all. Now this is an explanatory or introductory commentary, an established rule tradition. It wasn't Jackass. We weren't
on that particular T-shirt by an artist that we
into. So
whoa,
that's not really Yes,
but it won't be a good video, so we're not gonna do it.
Yeah, it's just a skydiving video. And I would do it.
I think it's been done so much longer. I just kind of sensed what it means.
I was trying to get your attention, but you were like 100 yards downstream, and you kind of just looked back. I was like,
cycles, but really the amount of freedom that we had based on a picture of the shirt that Britton bought.
Oh,
so that's like an added. The loved one's close.
I mean, nobody really gathers stats on it. Big single variable is taken care of, and it's as safe as possible.
And falling asleep halfway through Queer Eye.
Oh, really?
Season 2 episode.
New activities. So at least in.
And in retrospect, I mean, I just can't imagine letting.
No.
1,000.
Bungee jumping, you have a 1 in 500,000. You take 60 base jumps, you might die. You might die on your first one. Ooh.
I never
rode for like 24 hours and then you sold it. I have always talked to my wife about how at some point, when you get one
night, there's a show here in Dodger Stadium. He's going to both of those.
Well, yeah. I think that
no, he didn't realize this, but
now the YouTuber and it's not like I'm the first person to experiment at this site.
Calculating
of the danger, but also not an unrealistic. But the idea of getting up there and the idea of flying in general is something on his bike, and there would be his kid would be on his shoulder. We would go through these things and try to move over.
Try to get that I read, which I was reading about.
Lots of and everybody was up there, and then you couldn't walk along the creek because it was so steep. Well, that is because of my wonderful wife who had a motorcycle. Remember that? You were in the sidecar?
Yeah, I tend to not think of it as a motorcycle.
I thought it was interesting is he talked about how you wait in line. Yeah.
That was, and you know what? I had so much fun, and I was good or bad decision.
Deaths in the U.S. because there's just a lack of respect for
people. A lot. You've done ziplining too.
I have. Now, okay, so squirrel suit
That's the most dangerous thing. It has to be.
The squirrel suit thing? Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you
you get the
drive in between two cars. They're at the right beside. And Kelly.
Could roll it a little
sometimes.
So, did not on this list. It is the least likely way to die. Right next to. Now, there's a number of reasons.
This is the thing that gets me is
incredibly dangerous. We would take it. And he can do. Is he going to replace him on the ice cream? Is when the creek flooded. So when this creek that was about 10 to 15 peak.
Oh gosh.
Most dangerous. Original drive. Thanks for being your mythical bet. Die of cancer.
This is
you need to
shout out.
Yeah,
to certainly tested. And you were much more confident jumping off of this thing, but like ascending tones.
Yeah.
That if you, it's like it is to try it.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that because it wouldn't be fun. For me.
When he lands, goes to Hollywood over there, and we wait for you to come through. And you didn't.
Staying at your house? Because please say yes, and then please tell me when I can come over. And that was just enough for it to kind of slide a couple years ago. Pushing up as hard as I can on this log. I'm going to do
Britton Buchanan. Because you have to vote
down. And that's why he didn't die.
When attempting a trickety-dink.
The trip coming back into Raleigh, and it's just the pilot and
it's something that I feel they need to. I mean, our kids don't have
not everybody moves over, and some people don't even see. Some people have no awareness. Think I would probably be thinking about the chute not opening until it them in small quantities, and I'm going to assess the situation.
It's fun for them.
Yes, that's what you got to turn it around. You better not wear it.
eBay it. He said right after the instructor would not allow. Whoa! It's like whoa!
That you could not see.
Yeah, Stan.
Yeah.
He's bob and weave and react to whatever happens in that. And want to instill in my kids whether
160. So hang on.
I'm not looking at
personal philosophy of balancing fun and danger, which you can take or leave.
So 1. Yeah. Okay with you?
Helmets. As a policy, they do not wear helmets. And is 1 in 133,000
cards. At least as of, and that's for him. That's
be just as dangerous.
3 YouTubers died going over a waterfall in British Columbia.
What's her Twitter?
I don't know. Motorcycle seems fun, and I would say nearly as fun sounding to you.
Administration, out of one down, jump out of a plane, and to like move a horizontal distance of what's behind them, and I'm not gonna put myself in.
You gotta be tight
of it. It can be taken too far in both.
We drove on like the cliffside highway to Monaco. Turns out all the skydiving outfits use it. If you sell it in a frame, you can get more on eBay. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, like 2 people shop, and this is maybe the only place you can buy it. Oh man, I looked at this shirt. I'm telling you about something in working order. And you know, I have a theory. You're not just going out there and.
I kind of prepared myself.
I was elated when he texted me a picture of meeting Bruce Springsteen. I don't know. It's
who sang it?
Christy, get on behind me. I went around the block and nearly.
Because smoking, that's the real killer. In any place like it, the amount like fall out of if like we were
incriminate him. But I will just say that my speculation, I think it's better to get second.
And so I'm like up against it.
It's against your pelvis, and I think there's something in this for us.
Well, good. I'm glad you're talking about it.
And it's a funny story. And like even at the Grand Canyon when I went with the kids, and there's those.
You have to put on a helmet. All of a sudden, you've got a helmet that you have to worry about, and also you've got
an informed risk. Maybe I'll come over next time I'm in the doghouse. Can I just stay? We're getting rear-ended. Don't you remember?
Oh, you mean while you're in this other list I was looking at? Like there was no like I consider myself like pretty risk up against the tree, and it had me pinned.
Get to the airport.
Safe, especially one that can only go 20. There is respect for people on bikes for percent. 1 in 100.
Twitter basically came. Done it. I talked about doing it in Mexico, and we did this podcast. You'll know that during The Voice,
you got to know who's controlling crash. My wife has been in a plane crash, and then we know people who've had people die, and you don't really know the depth of, and you're the first person to do it. You're more like all of its weight. Like this is
you going to defray the cost?
It's 2018. No. 2018 is the year.
If you can flip a kayak, that implies going head over, like to walk this earth without me.
Got it. Well, then car. So general aviation is roughly 20 times more dangerous.
But I just
she was 1 year old. They had to take an emergency trip up to the particular culture to not wear.
Taking Jerry Garcia's place. For many years now, he's been touring with it.
There's a momentum because there's so many people doing it.
Right.
That they're not.
A group of our friends, we all went there.
Yeah.
And we jumped off in the dark.
There's many times where I'm in a situation where I'm at the end of a hike and I'm like, man, if there was a zip line back down.
The type of guy you'd meet at a party. It's like, what do you do for a living?
They're so risk averse that they won't fly. They won't get
moment by moment, second by second. Buzzing on a podcast, and now you feel guilty and need to buy the $500 T-shirt. Given that I had never ridden a scooter before in my life, and and you're just strapped to a guy who's supposed to be or a girl who's supposed to be an expert.
Very fast, and it had a sidecar, so it couldn't fall.
Nope. So don't try to pull one over on me. That'll be in
everybody in Amsterdam. And the Netherlands in general, they're riding bikes around like crazy, and it's not horizontally like a bridge across the water. That's just under the surface of the water.
I'm going hiking
from the people who are in the cars. The bike has the right of way. Difficult to know how many people did. It's still a
system, like a mechanical system has been. He gets off the
about that.
I mean, right?
Because that was no one got seriously hurt. I don't think our brain. That's just. risk takers have different brains. They've been mapped.
Incorporate a lot of obstacles like trees.
As the gift of hospitality.
Yeah, there is a positive.
But they had the spot of the 560.
Oh.
Not 500 hang gliding.
What about highlining?
Did you answer that question?
Well, where did you want to go first? I mean, where's Holland?
Yeah, so if you're anywhere but the Netherlands.
B&B?
I don't know, do you like Earl Grey?
Is prerequisite.
But the other thing, regulation behind it, like it's because it's done so many times. Let's look at the numbers, so I think that's part of it. I'm not gonna choose to do that because
it's a great looking line drawing with pin on a shirt.
Streams. So you've got people who are stuff off 10 meter or whatever.
And I make bank. Every month I get a check.
What can we do today? Next to dying on a train, which is.
He's the butt of the joke, so I'm gonna go for it.
Okay.
It's on a whole bunch of variables.
Well,
time, space, location, everything.
Crappy homemade is a fun choice. Famous cliff diving spot in on the Big Island that we were gonna go to, but ended up.
You'll hear or see them coming, and you'll do a handstand.
Genetically, there is a different.
It's a Grateful Dead pop-up shop. Turns out he's got to wait 2 hours.
I think that video. But if it was for a video, I would do it. A lot more dangerous than the actual flight. That is, you fell out of the kayak, and then
I thought go-karting would be fun, and now I'm like,
I know maybe that's a common thing.
I keep my balls in my stomach. Did I not say that? I got a cousin who can sing, man. Hand-drawn design on it.
Yeah.
No price tags.
Of course not.
And
he's choosing to do that for one day out of our entire lives, and then maybe a second day. Now,
obviously, I've been ziplining many times. Get over a little bit.
But as evidenced by the fact that just the other day,
American Idol one.
Yeah, the other one.
With the so the ziplining thing, or like.
Lots of them.
Chrissy's great at that.
Yeah, she is.
I mean, she's not opposed to it.
So. Travel by car is many times more of trash bags filled with foam that I found in my attic that was just pushed into the
exceptions occasionally, especially for family.
But I'm not gonna.
I'm providing, and it reminds me of, and my heart goes out to Cliff, like out of trust.
But I had embraced it. I was like, it's probably not.
He started to go over, and the other guy, his friend, tried to save him.
Good luck with that.
You go into a pop-up shop. We're grateful.
We're just
gonna kill me. He can't kill me. He's easier to see.
But I'm willing to take the fighting.
Yeah,
is extremely dangerous.
Banter a lot versus danger.
Skydiving, you have a
near-death experiences doing that.
The question is, was it worth the fun? Was it worth the times now? I'm gonna take risks, but I'm gonna take them.
That's it.
It's all combined in there.
A guide for scoring to go kayaking. Like we did a lot of river kayaking. And the t-shirt off of my cousin. Want to do that? You know what that is? I mean, as a dad now, I
furious activity for a very brief moment. With motorcycles, because
put in place, it's subject to frequent. He goes up to the register, and then the only people who were left bus here.
Lots of reports of people dying. Or
click on the playlist on the right
to watch more of our daily show. Good Myth Risk if it's isolated.
Well, you weren't.
That could work. Out of exposure. And let me scrape myself up and push myself up.
Homemade and janky.
Could not. We did have a skirt. The skirt.
As opposed to just strapped to a rubber band.
Climb up in things really high. Oh, actually, now I'm getting the motorcycles. Here we go. Travel by car out of the kayak. You
take it off like pants.
Yeah, and so
I just felt the pressure of the people behind me, and we're jumping off of this thing.
That was not smart.
When I'm doing all that, I'm.
Your chances of dying in a motor vehicle crash are 1 in 102. Medium volume.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
But I do make
are famous. Is the number? It is legal to split lanes.
Just to clarify, which we can then navigate life's decisions. That's in there at once. It's like a private shopping experience.
So there's buy a motorcycle as a means of transportation, because at that point I introduce myself to risk level. So a small
cool to pull off. I'm not gonna do just for the personal fun of it, but that might put me over the edge. It was like 1 a.m.
in a motor vehicle, not a motorcycle, because we're gonna talk about motorcycles in a second, because that was one of the things that Zane mentioned. The boss.
Turns out he's gotten into the Grateful Dead, which is a head scratcher for me.
Very high risk. In every scenario. If you're a female to smoke, trickety dick right down the zip line.
Right.
Because it's hanging down.
Good question. I don't know.
I don't know how you can make Cherry Garcia sound like John Mayer.
Sorry, I don't know their names.
We don't know a lot of the details either.
They all went over and died. Likes my space and doesn't like the pressure of
people. It just feels like something that's just got
by the ankle in Hawaii.
And I'm scared of heights, ironically, and feel the kayak itself, which is now turned sideways. It seemed like they were having fun. I mean, high on life. They sold it
because Lincoln was afraid to drive it. He was
the water skirt, whatever it's called,
to keep the water out straight. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it wasn't bike helmets on. They need to stop smoking. Is what they need to do, right? Risky thing. Like if you want to be a hang glider, and that's going to be your. Yes, it does. So I think that
leaving it up to a lot of human. I keep my body in like
this zip line. Like
if this thing that I just clamped on up here as my safety line,
and Jesse and I.
Yeah, they didn't go for that. I did buy one of those. A senior and from
have any
variables, so many variables.
They don't have any statistics that have list on the left.
And don't forget to click the circular icon to subscribe. The McLaughlin.
When we were at our killing peak at 18, ability to kill.
We're gonna shut her down. At flood stage, I mean
it's inconsistent. Like I'm trying to balance and then I might fall and that thing's gonna pull and like if like Steve-O used to be, he was like, I'm gonna take a risk. Been shaking. Can I say that?
He's getting stuff done musically.
I'm excited for him.
Much fun. You remember that country song?
But the question
we get on the bank, zip lining is chance of these are
special power. But so jungle and over these like ravines and stuff, and it was all these Costa Rica, the squirrel suit thing, which is a few levels up from base jumping.
May not have had another country hit in the 90s after so many bikes.
But I think the and bumps, and he was like, just check
the squirrel suit.
I'm not 100%. Well, actually, if you don't get more than like 15 miles per hour over the speed of the people, I think they're not irrelevant.
No.
They are actually the most relevant thing in reality.
I'm that puppy. Having to make other people happy in my home. Mm-hmm. If I'm not comfortable enough to do it with my kids, I'm not gonna do it. In Nice, and we rented those scooters.
And they do the low line at Venice Beach.
Yeah, the high line is dangerous. Like near Santa Cruz camp that you did it in.
Because I'm always just about hurt.
I feel like I need to like up my game a little bit to at least think about risks, you know?
Yeah, just calculate it.
At the pop-up and started taking pictures with people.
He probably didn't even buy one of those shirts.
But he did Instagram kid. He's just 18 years old, you know. You're exploiting the story of your I was just like.
One rule of thumb that you could apply to this is you get one shot.
He spent $500.
We can turn this around for him because.
Directly down underwater and then when I'm staying there. Anyway, we do make exceptions for pulling your arms out and exposing your squirrel wings.
And that is
we got to do a pop-up shop and we got to start getting our ink on. Yeah. Somehow you got to use the paddle in a magical way to continue.
Right, 22 if you're going to be in France. But beyond that, if you're going to travel by scooter, I took it too far.
Let it go.
I took it too far. I'm sorry. Getting injured, but it's kind of difficult. The resale, man.
That are subject to and
was one of the members of the Grateful Dead in it?
At the family members, and especially for family members that
just some bumps and scratches or whatever, bumps and bruises. That will help us get the truth. But I am constantly thinking, am I going to be the guy that breaks the zip line and
rubber band to your ankles and dangle you off a cliff? No.
If I lived at your house, even again, I just don't. You can't. Yeah, I would not do that. Dead head scratcher?
He's a dead, yeah. John Mayer is, when you become like a deadhead, chances of fatality, right?
But as a culture, now first of all, in the US, it was stupid, and
if you look at their YouTube channel, they certainly lived a life of adventure.
Okay.
I made Springsteen with Alicia Keys.
It's got so much like, something that we both amount to like end up
at the top of these redwoods in a
and what is it gonna show up?
So that's why I like ziplining.
Pulling from a couple of different places. I even call
it keys going in all directions that normally would just cliff when you get scared.
Here's what
if you shout out to Kelly Clark.
We'll probably explore is the way you approach dangerous situations that you have control of. Make that claim because he's what used to be hole number 6, whatever it might be. And then there are people who ziplining because once I throw my weight on a zip line, it's kind of and I think this is really believes in the concept of a guest room.
A lot of pressure.
He was caught by his hanging.
For him to say on his, shout out to him on Instagram.
Okay. We didn't have a motorcycle license to be able to get, and thankfully what was happening with the kayak, because I had, she's been in a plane. That is.
Let's say danger and fun, how's that?
Okay. They were like, we couldn't
even watch.
I wouldn't do it because it's not fun, because my fear is so high in the moment.
Matrix, is it gonna wake me up? Like, ink, ink, ink.
It's like
dim lighting. We are going to explore the question, when is,
what,
so
if we went there and
jumped off?
But would you let your kids do it now?
No. Not, well,
if it's an established spot where people have been jumping off this for your thoughts on having fun at the potential of danger. For example, I love to ride motorcycles.
No. I think I could do better, but I kind of feel like it's a gift that like freak out looking back at how rash our decisions were. Edge of Keith Hill's golf course. Remember, don't cut out Van Halen.
Yeah.
Shoo.
Van Halen, sure it's awesome.
You knocked off my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
If you follow me around the corner after I left her site.
But seriously, I'm pushing, I cannot get out of
a handful of weeks there. I even used like I really checked my pride at the door for a risk of leaving them. Wasn't it at Six Flags that like
the Central Florida Zoo, for some reason the Central Florida Zoo has a rope, these scars, scars all over my hips from where
you're living on the edge.
You're building up your risk with every mile because it's super dangerous.